to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Today, my friend Rebecca Robinson joins me. Rebecca is a leading home renovation expert in Tennessee, and she is the principal of Monarch Lane Interiors located in Nashville. With 20 years of experience remodeling homes, offices, and commercial spaces, Rebecca is involved in every aspect of remodeling, from drawing floor plans to color and selections to managing contractors and overseeing the design and construction details. On the show today, Rebecca explains how, coming from a construction firm, she knew exactly how to position herself once she opened her design firm. She knew the pain points and challenges builders and contractors routinely face, so she designed her Nancy G ladder of services to address them. And if you are new to the show, Nancy Ganzekaufer is a business coach for designers, and this is one of her specialties, teaching you how to get clear on the services you offer. Check out my resource page for more information on Nancy Ganzekaufer. Now, today, listen in as Rebecca walks you through how she explains her value to contractors and builders and how this results in a full pipeline for her and her firm. Pay close attention to how Mydoma Studio makes this process even easier for her to pitch the contractors, and easier for her to effectively manage the projects once she lands them. Listen up too as I thank Monogram for sponsoring the show. Please consider Monogram appliances the next time you are designing a kitchen for your client. Luxury, technology, beauty, all built right in. Imagine a suite of Monogram appliances that makes you proud to have specified them and delights your client with the performance and the reliability. Set up your trade account today at monogram.com/LuAnn. monogram.com/LuAnn. Introduce yourself to the team at Monogram and let them know I sent you. Hi, Rebecca. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, listen to you sounding all proper and reserved.
I'm glad to be here. So exciting.
Yeah, well, I know the Rebecca that I hang out at bars with and go visit prisons with. Come on.
Yes. They definitely want a backstory of that, I'm sure.
That's it, right? So, that was the first time we met, was when John at Revel Woods and Sarah Daniele at Mydoma Studio organized that designer retreat, a couple of days down in Nashville where you are, right? And we all got together. So let's see if we can remember. It was you, me, the Vin Man, John, yes, Sarah, Elizabeth Scruggs,
yep,
Veronica Solomon.
We also had Miss Deuce.
That's right, Jessica Deuce.
Jessica Deuce, Jay Deuce. And who else did we have? Maya.
Oh, Lori, right, yeah. Of course, Lori Maya.
Yeah.
I think that was the crew, right?
Yeah, and that was just so much fun. Yeah, that was our first experience, just going to jail together.
Yeah. But, so, what's so funny is that we're laughing because we had such an excellent time. But I just want to let them know the actual backstory is that John invited us to tour the factory where much of his hardwood product is produced. And of course, John has been on the episode to tell about the Revel Woods product and how the company works. And that's episode number 329. But he brought us to the factory, the OEM factory that Allie is and her father own. And and that episode is 452, and they run that factory out of the penitentiary there in Tennessee, and we all got to tour it, and that was really a remarkable time, wasn't it?
It was so fascinating, so fascinating. I mean, they take such care, and I just loved seeing every step, and it was a great tour, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's funny because I have the same feeling about how much care, the pride and the care that the men that were creating the floors and every single step of the way, and how organized the process was. It was remarkable, and the whole thing. It's even more. It's deeper than just the care and the quality and the expert craftsmanship. It's the whole rehabilitation program that they run there. Right, and how the men are able to earn money.
Do you remember the gentleman that left, he was on his way out and he was so excited, and he had a nest egg. He had something to go back to.
That's right.
It was really heartwarming.
His name was Michael, and he had, I think it was $30,000 in the bank, ready to start his new life.
Right.
And a skill and a trade.
Incredible.
Yes. So exciting.
Yeah.
So you really, have to listen to that episode. It's 329, John, that tells you all about Revel Woods, and then 452, Allie Finkel's episode, which tells you all about that experience there at the factory. Yeah. So, but that's where we got to be friends, and that was fun.
And then the bar, I have to share this because I just think it's awesome. Just this year at KBIS, I found out LuAnn's going to be the head speaker for our NKBA meeting. I'm a rep. And I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if she's in my hotel. And sure enough, I text this lady or
DM me on Instagram, right?
I DM you on something, one of those social accounts. And I'm like, come have a drink with me. And you do. And you just got into town. That's crazy. But you come down and have drinks with me, and we met somebody else and pulled her in.
Yes.
I mean, you probably remember her name, don't you?
I can remember her face.
I can too. Anyway, it was so much fun, and thanks for joining me for that. That was awesome.
Oh my goodness, that was great. That was fun. And then you know what? I knew you. I knew that we hit it off, and so I was really happy to do it, and I was glad that I did. We had a nice time. But here's the thing. So in that little chat, you started to tell me about all the things that you are doing in your business. You had emailed me before that, but you see, and I just have to say, how many times have I said on the podcast, no answer is not no. No answer is not no. No answer is just no answer. No answer is maybe LuAnn never saw the darn email. That's probably what no answer really is. Okay. But you brought to my attention the things that you were actually doing in your business and how you had drawn a line in the sand. So first of all, you're 13 years as an interior designer, spent some time working with a contractor who specialized in kitchen and baths. And then you decided, that's it, need my own firm. And you have your own firm, 3 or 4 years, when a year or 2 years into it, you say to yourself, line in the sand, I got to get this thing organized, right?
Right. Well, so I decided I have young kids at first. That's why I wanted a job that was more secure. But once my kids got into high school and middle school, that's really when they get into trouble, LuAnn. So I wanted to leave that firm and do it from home and help them. And I actually still help that construction kitchen and bath firm, just do it from home. So I decided to really look at my business. So it was about mid-2018. I left them and, again, still help them. But working from home, my business, I got to get on the right track, right? I got to figure out what I need to do. So in 2018, I really pulled it all together. I worked on my systems, my processes, got templates down for everything. And then because of my relationship with contractor that I had been working with in their firm, I really saw a need for kind of working on that contractor designer relationship. And I saw that I could offer other contractors some of the same things that I was doing for this firm.
What I love about it is, we say it all the time. I just had a mastermind meeting today, and we were brainstorming on how to work with realtors and how to attract realtors. And I literally said the sentence, you have to just really get very base in what are the pain points that a realtor is experiencing. So they have a house that's sitting on the market and it can't sell. Why is it not selling? Maybe you can go in and do a rendering where you can show the realtor, hey, the next time you walk somebody through, just show them that they move this one wall and the kitchen becomes amazing. Or they, maybe it's a tough room for a floor plan. So, but the point is that you did the same thing with the contractors. Having worked with a contractor, you knew exactly what you were doing that was making their firm easier to run, right?
Right. And like you said, I saw what the pain points were, and I've interviewed several contractors since then. And what I've really learned is that contractors don't always love working with designers. I mean, that's shocking, right? But we're pretty great. So why? And really some of the problems really boil down to that sometimes the contractors feel like designers slow down the process too much, or we take too long to get the selections and decisions. They don't ever think that's a customer. But then some designers aren't able to communicate the design with the drawings. And then some contractors have shared with me that designers will even just throw them under the bus. So it's not even a great relationship. They're kind of divided. So I kind of, obviously there's awesome designers out there who have got great relationships with the contractors they use, but this was just what some of the contractors I've talked to have told me. So just like I want to serve my clients well, I really wanted to work with contractors well and serve them, because all of us need to be in this together. And I love the conversation you had with Brad from AFT. I feel like I feel like it's going to be really awesome for us as a design community to learn more about how we can all work together. I just think that's awesome.
Yes. Brad was amazing, wasn't he?
He was awesome.
Yes.
And so that's what I did. I looked at those pain points first that I knew contractors had, and then I tried to think about, well, how can I help them? How can I take some of the services that I do for full service and maybe make it more simple? How can I cater it to what their actual needs were? And then next is I pretty much started to pull packages together for them.
So I love this. And let me just let them know. So you're referring to Brad Levitt's episode number 542, and he is the founder and the owner of AFT Construction. And he came on the show and was telling about his standpoint as the owner of the construction firm. He's a big design build firm, right? And so, big build firm. And his whole principle is he has come to a point in his career where he won't do a project. He won't build a house for a client who is not working with an interior designer. However, I do know that he's not interested in working with just any designer. It can't just be, I'm a designer. It has to be a designer with a process, with an absolute process that is going to do what he wants. The reason he wants a designer involved is because he said it's going to cut 2 to 3 months off of a timeline that is a 2-year timeline. And that saves him a tremendous amount of money. So it's when the contractors complain about anything. I don't care if a contractor's complaining about a designer or a plumber or whoever. They're complaining because they're making their process worse, not better, right?
Correct. Because sometimes the client pulls a designer in, and then maybe it's just weird, because I've seen so many of these relationships where nobody wants to talk to anybody. It's like a pride thing, or I'm not really sure, but it doesn't help anything, So I kind of went into, I love Brad's whole take on what he values with interior designers and what he gets from that relationship. It's just awesome. But I kind of took all those things that I know contractors will really benefit from, and I just packaged those services up, and we'll talk about how. But then I started meeting. So I just started meeting with different contractors in my area, trying to build relationships, show them what I can do for them, show them kind of packaged, systemed, way where it's real organized, and showed them the deliverables so that they knew exactly what they could expect with each project.
It's awesome. So what is it? Where do we start with it, Rebecca? Do we start with an overview of the different, like you're calling them packages. So I'm curious what that means. Do we start with an overview, or tell me where we start.
Yep. So what I did is I bundled these services, all that I could offer in a package. So I've used Mydoma for 4 years now, and we all know, or some of you might know, that they do have packages that you can put on your website and sell to clients and customers that are coming into your site. then you could also have private packages. So what I did was create a private package that contractors can buy. And basically, it's a special price just for them. And it's a perceived value, of course. Once they know that we're preparing, that they're reaping the benefits of working with a designer, the value is not really perceived, but tangible. But the bottom line is that I wanted to offer something enticing that they'll get them excited and be a continuous partner with me. So each package lets them know how many hours and what the deliverables will be. So there's a time limit to it. It's not like you can have me unlimited.
Okay.
But then I'm able to send them a link from Mydoma, and they can purchase that as a private package. So it's something that they just add to their bottom. And then in my firm, we call that gifting design time. So when we are sending a welcome packet to a new client and a contract, it even details out that their contractors gifted them with design time. And then here's how we're going to spend that time, because to make sure that it's a good return on the contractor's investment. We wouldn't want to just say, oh, well, you got a certain amount of hours, and then Miss Susie wants to shop for 10 hours. We can't do that. So we make sure that because ultimately they're my client first, really taking care of that contractor and what we need to deliver. So, that's pretty much how we start each project with them. And, all of the clients, I let them know that this is, here's your gifted time, but then here's my regular design rate. So if you want to work with me after XYZ, you certainly can. And a lot of them do. They continue to work with me, and so it's a win-win. They send me continuous business so I can take good care of their projects, but then they are definitely clients that keep coming back also.
So if I imagine this, Rebecca, it's so funny because I'm about to say, if I were a designer that worked for a build firm, hello, like you were. So what you're saying is typically a very typical model is that you find a builder, he or she builds a home for you, and they've got the person in the office that's like, okay, on Tuesday, come in and we'll pick your cabinet package. And on Wednesday, come in and we'll pick out your exterior package and blah, 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 right? And that is a person that may or may not be an interior designer, but is probably some level of interior design working for the builder. So what you're saying is that you took and sliced up all the different things that you knew that you used to do for the builder and allowed the builder to say, well, I want to buy this particular level of services that includes these things, and I'm going to include it in the sale price to my consumer who's buying the house from me. Is that what we're saying? Okay.
Yeah, they added in as sort of like a bottom line expense.
Well, and it makes sense because, and then I also heard you say in there that now you're going to go introduce yourself to the client, but you're making it very clear that the builder technically is your client, that you're a present from the builder, and that the builder has purchased this level of services. And so these are the milestones that we're going to hit. These are the selections we're going to hit. So even though I'm your interior designer for this project, and maybe it enunciates it, maybe it doesn't, that there's 12 hours involved, we're not spending 12 hours figuring out where the sofa goes. This is what this 12 hours covers because he bought it or she bought it, the builder bought it.
Right.
Okay.
Well, and what I basically do is I give them I make them into my design studio with Mydoma. So they have their own login. The builder also, see, this is pretty cool. Mydoma allows you to have not just design assistants and people that work for you have a login, but they allow you to have contractors be able to log into a project that you give them permission to. So with their client, I create their project in Mydoma and give the contractor all the permissions. So I make sure that once I've built a relationship with a contractor, I want to sit down with them, show them how to use Mydoma, show them how to log in. And what's really cool is, since most of these builders, if they're sending me the client, they're purchasing everything. But if I shop with the client, all the plumbing, all the cabinetry, all the details, all the estimates that need to go into it, it goes into Mydoma and their client approves it and they can see all that. So it's kind of like, it helps us have 3 meetings that we don't have to have, like those are out of the way because it's so efficient to do the this all online with Mydoma, and they love it. So sometimes just that fact right there is a selling point. So let's just say this, for instance, a client approves a faucet and like all the things for their bathroom. And I just message the contractor and say they're ready to go, but they can log into Mydoma and have a time-stamped approval from those clients. So they can even print that off and put it in their books. And so it just makes it really efficient.
What's really exciting about that is that helps. What I know is the Achilles heel with the designers that get the reputation from, like you started at the top of the show by saying like they think that designers make this project slower and XYZ. Right. It's because the designers will sometimes take the time to make all these selections, but then not prepare them and give them to the contractor in an organized manner. And so what you're saying is you're making all these selections, you're taking the time to come back to your studio, enter everything in with the SKUs and the pictures and the client. Then you say to the client, here, this is everything we picked. Say yes. And then the contract, you don't have to now prepare another document or a binder with all the stuff in it and deliver it to the contractor. He or she can log in at 2:00 in the morning if they want. If the plumbers come in the next day, they can. Oh my goodness.
Well, and I load all the drawings in for them. So I'll do, all the pre-concept drawings. I'll do the construction documents. They can print all of that off and download it right from Mydoma. So we have eliminated several steps when we do it this way. It really makes it super efficient.
Very, very good. I love that. And so what are the levels of the services, the packages that you've broken them up? How do you do that? What kind of things I guess there's different types of projects, and a contractor only needs a kitchen package or something. Is that what we're saying? Like things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So they kind of call me first and they say, hey, here's the project. Nobody's ever doing one room anymore, but they'll tell me like how many things are involved. And so we start off with, okay, so this is how many, I just tell them how many hours I think it's going to take. And they say yes. And I send that package that's private that they can go ahead and pay for. But then it's me just contacting the client, and it's almost like it's Christmas, hey, your contractor's gifted you with time and here's how we're going to do it. And let's set up our first meeting. So it really is fluid. It just, but it does take that pre-conversation per client because, I do have just a kitchen package or just a bathroom package, but nobody does just one room anymore, and everybody's knocking down walls. So
okay, and the other cool thing I'm hearing is the builder's paying up front for this.
Yeah,
in full.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And then clients see what the cost is if they want to do additional things. So and that would just be a regular rate. But just like we have, contractor rates for services throughout our whole industry, that's just another way. I feel like if they're giving me a lot of business, I also want to give them some a cut so that they can just continue to build on that with me.
So what you're saying is if somebody were to, say a client were to take a package of 10 hours and say you charge $200 an hour, for the contractor, you might charge $175 an hour or something.
Right.
Okay. And are the packages for the contractors, Rebecca, strictly hourly packages where you get you have the conversation, you say, oh, I think you need 10, I think you need 20, I think you need 60, or do they have actual deliverables in them where you're like, well, I feel like this is a 20-hour project, and with that you're going to get, whatever. So how do you do that?
I think just because I've been doing this for over 14 years and just tracking time in general, I knew how long certain things will take. So when they tell me what the scope is, even over the phone, I can tell them how many hours. But I absolutely want to give them deliverables because I think that's what it sells, because I want them to know that they're going to get, these type of drawings and that they're going to get this level of detail. And we'll decide per client budget what can really happen. We're going to get a little bit more detailed with that full house build that we're doing versus somebody that's just doing a bathroom. But we still want to make sure that even in a bathroom, we want to make sure that I am putting into the deliverables that we are going to have tile drawings that show where everything goes. And so, yeah, we definitely spell out what the deliverables will be.
Okay. But again, is that set up as a preset thing, or, it comes from the conversation and then you say, so somebody might want you to do a full renovation and maybe they say, I don't want drawings. I've got somebody on staff that does that. So I want this, that, and that. Or so like, that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, so if I were in the back end of your website, okay, where the contractor is looking at this in Mydoma Studio, am I going to go, oh, okay, package number 1 is a kitchen that just includes cabinetry selections, backsplash selections, and floor plan. But package number 2 includes specifications for appliances and for lighting and for, I don't know, whatever else.
I know what you're asking.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So let me tell you, there's a cool distinction on this. So like if we put a package on our website to sell, you got to have it ready to go. Somebody's going to buy that in the middle of the night. It's got to be spelled out.
Right.
But for the contractor or private packages, you are emailing them a link. And I don't even create that package until they talk to me about it. So let me go back a minute. So when I did first meet with them and try to build the relationships, I said, hey, I can do a kitchen project for you for X amount of hours, and here's the deliverables. So I kind of gave them a, hey, here's an example, but we absolutely customize it. And then once I hear and talk to them about their scope, I say, great, I think it's going to be this many hours, but I'm going to send you the package. So then I can go in and create whatever it is and email them the link. So yeah, it's very different from the sellable packages that you can have on your site that are public versus you can create that as needed. But I absolutely could have, if I thought that there was a package we did over and over the same, I could create a link and they just hang on to that link. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess now where I think the light bulb just went off, Rebecca, so don't mind me. I think the light bulb just went off. So I guess what it is it's no different than if you did not use Mydoma Studio and you did not sell it as a package. It's really, if my brain just says, LuAnn, every single time as a designer, I have an opportunity to speak to a contractor about a project, have a conversation. I understand all the things that they are asking for. I understand the things that I think are beneficial for them to have. I go back, I figure out what I'm going to deliver to them. I come up with my flat fee, and then I do a proposal. This is exactly that, except what you're saying is that once you come up with your proposal, you put it into Mydoma Studio, you put your deliverables in there, which are customized for that particular project, but the price tag goes on and the contractor buys it in the middle of the night after you sent them the link.
That's right.
See.
And we have a relationship. So they almost buy without even like, yes, go ahead.
Right. And then what happens is, I'm loving the different layers, because how many of us have heard a designer say, well, go back to your contract that's not in the contract. So now you're all in Mydoma Studio. You know exactly what you're delivering, and you are able to, I'm assuming, go through your tasks and click off. Okay, this has been done. There's a deliverables in this, like, whatever the link is or whatever there. Oh, these are the next 3 things that are on our hit parade to do next. And the contractor can log in and say, oh, all the roughing and all the plumbing and 3 bathrooms are finished. Yay, there's all my stuff. I can start on the bathrooms. She doesn't have to wait for you to.
It's really like the communication is kind of really bumped up, but I also really work on nurturing that relationship with them. So once a week, I send them a video update. Have you ever heard of Use Loom? Have you ever heard of that?
I've heard of Loom. I've never watched it in action, but I've heard of it.
I love it. So I use it, and I'll sit there and screen share and do a video. I feel like, you can't, even before all of this, pandemic, I feel like there wasn't a lot of time to just have a ton of face-to-face meetings, especially when I have several contractors I'm working with. So I would just do a face screen share video and show them their projects in Mydoma, show them what's approved. This is this is that. And it does 2 things. They see my, we're kind of connecting, whether they, and then the other thing is they see, oh, the client has approved this. I need to go ahead and print that off and get going,
Wow.
So I try to do that every week too, to kind of nurture those relationships.
That's a really powerful component of this, Rebecca. That's brilliant right there, I have to say, because The contractors are very busy. And so this is exactly what I would be. I would be like, 2:00 in the morning, I'd be like, oh my goodness, I haven't looked at Mydoma in 3 days. I wonder if all those selections are made. Right. But if I know I'm working with somebody super organized like yourself, if I have that thought on Wednesday, if I need to know, maybe I wake up in the middle of the night and look at it, or I do it first thing in the morning. But I also can say to myself, don't worry about it. Friday, Rebecca's going to update me.
Yeah. And they wake up at they're starting at 6 or 7.
Sure.
We don't all
Right.
But yeah, whenever they want to, and they've gotten so accustomed to it, that they, there's a couple of them that play them at their meetings that they have with their guys. And so when I'm talking to these builders, I'm addressing all their project supervisors, and it's just really cool. I really feel like we have developed such a good friendship over this and a strong relationship. It's really cool.
So I was picturing it differently. I was picturing it like preset builder packages that are private, but it is no different than you can. I hear that. I get that. But what you're doing is no different than full service luxury design that you are really creating the proposal for each unique product, just like any full service designer would do. The only difference is once you've created it, you're loading it into Mydoma so that they can purchase it and pay in full right there. Yeah. And you will have a record of everything. And I imagine you can probably, of course you do. You're inviting the client in too, because they're making their approvals there. Hello. Right. Yeah. No, I definitely, I make the project name be the client's last name and residence. And we just start, everything has to happen in Mydoma or it doesn't happen. I think. Who has said that on your podcast? Corey Klassen said that at LuAnn Live. If it didn't happen in Mydoma, it didn't happen.
It's so true. I feel like that is, there's some of these one-liners, and I could go down a list of all these one-liners from your podcast that has changed my life, but that's one of them. And I was like, I'm not going to let a client tell me they can't figure it out. I'm going to send them a video. Right. By God, I have sent almost all my clients videos welcoming them in, but not just that. If they are like, I don't know where to go for this, I'm like, great. I send them a video because it really does keep everything organized. And if they send me another email in my big email box, I may never see it. But if we can message and keep everything in Mydoma, it's awesome. It's just everything in one spot and I can't lose it.
I know. I love that feature. I have yet to have one of the designers that we work with do their interaction, their client interaction and their vendor interaction through Mydoma. But when I'm a broken record about it. When I met Sarah Daniele almost 5 years ago now, I, had that was my boom. I was like, I don't have to search 5,000 emails for the change in where the trim goes on the lead edge of that drapery. I can just go to that client project and you find your update. Yes. Yeah. 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 I have this, it's a funny thing. I wonder why, more designers don't take to this sort of thing, because one of the Achilles heel, and I'm sure it's experienced with contractors as well, which is one of the reasons why they will sometimes complain about working with a designer, is because, you can imagine you're working with even in this situation where you've been hired. If you've been hired by the contractor, Rebecca, but you didn't take everything and capture it into Mydoma where he or she, the contractor, can access it whenever they want. It's right. So maybe you had a meeting on Monday morning with his client, your client through him, and you made 3 or 4 changes. And then, I don't know, you've got 2 kids, a husband, probably dogs and cats and everything else, and life happens, and maybe you don't get around to updating the contractor until Thursday. But maybe something, and that's where they get upset, because on Tuesday they were making a move on that part, and then you show up on Thursday like, oh, we changed the backsplash pattern, sorry. It's like, and then you might look at them and say, but I told you, you said to me that specification wasn't due until Friday. And now he looks and says, I know, but the guy showed up on Tuesday and I had it. And now it's a he said, she said. And what's the big deal? I've been there. Yeah. I've been in that situation, and everybody's wrong and everybody's right at the same time.
Right. And one of the things I try to help all the contractors with is like an order of this. Like, I want to help you as the contractor while there are site visits and things that are happening during construction. Absolutely. But during the selection and designing process, I want them to know that it's really ideal that we get everything selected and everything picked. And I try to tell the client, hey, you can't even get on their project schedule until we get everything done. Yes. So they, it's not that I'm trying to push anyone out of the way, but I really feel like it's a disservice to the client if we start a project and they still have, oh my gosh, some backsplash tile or grout forbid to pick out. I mean, all of that slows down a job, sometimes a week, sometimes two, if we've got to order it. So we really try to have it's almost like when I'm done with the client and they've approved everything they need to, then I almost pass over the baton and I say, okay, Mr. Contractor, they are ready. Right. We're good to go. You can print off all your deliverables. And they run. They're like, all right, let's go.
Yes, I can visualize it. It's like Brad talked about the designers that he works with pass over the completed, executed design binder. And every single thing, like he mentioned a couple of times, if the floor plan is done for the living room before I build your living room, then if you need electrical in the floor, I can do it then, not after I've put all the hardwood floors in and then you decide to do the floor plan and now you want an outlet in the middle of the room, right?
That's right. And I don't mind telling the client, I know you're excited and you really want to get started, but it is going to be a disruption to your life. Let's get all the details so that it's not about when you start, but it's about having everything selected so that when you start, it's efficient and it can go a lot smoother. So, and not just I love how Brad talked about, it makes his job better because the client's, trying to get extra information out of him, design choices or whatever. Yes. I mean, it's already thought through. So he can do what he does best and everybody's just like, it's smooth sailing now. And I know there's problems on every project, sure. But that's just the nature of it. But when this is happening, I have found that it is just so much more smooth.
Yes.
For sure.
Very exciting. I think it sounds it sounds really awesome. And so when give us some language, because it's one thing between us, we're understanding it, we get the value because you're friends listening are designers, right? So they're like, oh, I can picture this. But once you did it once or twice with the contractors that you knew and had a relationship with, give us some of the language and the way you approached stranger contractors and said, I've got this idea. I've been executing it. It works. Let me tell you about it. How did you do that, Rebecca?
Yes. So first you research the people that you think you might want to work with. And just because you meet them, you may or may not like them. It's kind of like dating. I mean, but I figure out who I would love to partner with. And so again, I did this all like end of 2008 and also, not 2008,
2018,
18 and 2019. So really anytime I felt like, okay, I'd like to partner with them, I, invite them for coffee and just want to talk to them about how we could partner together. And so the conversation really is me asking them first, what are some of your pain points? I want them to tell me, but I already know. But sometimes you get more, things from them. But what are your pain points? What is hard for you when you've worked with designers in the past? Because I want to use the words they tell me to sell it.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy. And then I think for me, a lot of them, the things that I hear over and over is, helping clients pick selections. Easy. All designers can help that. Helping them get things approved. It feels like just getting them to, make the final decisions. If you're able to help with drawings, even if it's on a smaller scale, or even if you have to use your initial ideas and then use a draftsman, what it is, but can you package that together? And then, can you also simplify some of the design services that you offer in your full service? Because even though we love to give our clients, the full cart, sometimes what builders are going to invest in is not that.
Right.
So I feel like it's not even that you're giving them a lesser quality, but just kind of like fast food, if you will. Like it's not the full meal, but it's going to make their job smoother. Right. But then once they get that, and they're going to have certain clients for that budget. But I have felt like most of them, when I present, I don't just tell them all those things. I actually bring my laptop and show them Mydoma every single time. And I show them how my projects are all in one spot, how the drawings are all in one spot, how I can invite and I show them other contractors that I'm working with. And that is really promise you, that's what sells it. They
Wow.
see how everything's in one spot and how they can, like you said, log in at 2 a.m. And that is, kind of what wins it. And then, like any relationship, you nurture it and you work on it. But when they also see how easy it is with those quick projects, then they'll trust you more with the bigger ones and say, now I've got a full entire house to build. Can you do that too? Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Of course. Yeah. So, but that, I really just think finding out first when I'm meeting with them, what are their pain points, finding out, what have they not liked about working with a designer and what would they like? And then using that right back on them and selling them like, hey, I can do that for you. And I can package it up into a manageable, here's what you're going to get from that.
I love it. I love it. And then, of course, I'm sure you've gathered your testimonials along the way from the contractors that are
Yes.
enjoying the service, right?
Yes.
So how do you handle it if, it's funny because I just used the example of the floor plan has created need for the outlet in the floor. So if you're working with a contractor who, to you just said, some of them aren't going to gift their client with the A to Z luxury full service, right? Maybe they're going to gift their client with all, I always call it the hardscapes. I don't know what the heck it's really called. Like the things that can't move out of a house, right? Like the tiles and all that stuff, right? And so what happens then is there a point when and I know you said that often the clients will then hire you for more, but
yes.
What's the dance when because you don't want to work with the client and say, hey, you get this from the builder, and they ask you a question, you're like, yeah, that's not included. Like, how do you, because we don't know the order as a client, so we're probably going to ask you back and forth every which way, right?
Nope, you're not going to, because in the contract it says your contractor has gifted you, like the contract that I put into Mydoma. So it'll say your contractor has gifted you with 15 gifted hours or design hours. And here's how we're going to spend those 15. So, Mrs. Client, we're going to spend this many times on concept, this many hours on shopping for your selections, this many. And if you need additional design time, our rate is, and then it just works because and then when I do my weekly, like, where's everybody at? I'm tracking everybody's time. Okay, if they're getting close to that gifted hour time, I just let them know, hey, Miss Client, we are close and we still have this, this, and this to do. I just want to let you know. And they're usually like, oh, great. I mean, they just see us taking care of it and they see their builder giving them a huge gift. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So even though it is prescribed a certain amount of time and it's going to run out, I feel like if everybody knows this up front and you're managing that expectation, it's going to be smooth. Now, do they all want to keep going? No, some of them want just the free time. And then we have to figure out, well, then if you still haven't decided, go back and look at it. Let me know what you want to do. Like, they can go back to the tile store.
Right.
But if they want to continue on, I'm there for them and can help them full service. Yeah.
I guess what I was saying is if I'm sitting there and you are maybe helping me decide where all the hi-hats go in the house. Maybe that's one of the things a builder would need to know, right?
Uh-huh.
But if I'm going to say to you, well, I'm not sure where I should put my bed in this room. This is crazy. So you might have
I don't know any builder that's going to pay for that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So if part of what you're charged to do is give the hi-hat plan to the builder, but if I'm the customer, the client, and I'm saying, well, don't I have to know where the bed's going to go? And this might be a silly example because it's usually fairly obvious where a bed is going to go, but you get my point. Once the client is going to start to ask questions like that, how do you say, we can't talk about your furniture placement. We have to just talk about this. Or what do you do?
I never start it with a negative.
Right.
Usually I kind of go into it with like, that's exciting. I mean, I have a client right now that we are in a major renovation with several rooms in their home. And they're like, what about the furniture? And I'm like, well, and we're past the gifted hours at this time. But even now, I feel like it's still a need to finish the hardscapes, the things that a contractor is going to be waiting on me for. So I say, I can't wait to look at that with you. It's going to be really exciting. I know it's going to be great. Let's finish this, and let's absolutely schedule that in. So it's not that the bed wouldn't be important. And do we need to consider that? If that's really a concern in the construction phase, then we would address it, but it shouldn't take, stuff like that doesn't usually take long anyway. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm just thinking of different things that could contribute to that scope creep, and you've got a responsibility to the contractor to keep it under control.
That's right. Well, and I love scope creep. It just means more business, but it's just how you manage it. So I try to put it in another category and say, I really look forward to doing that part with you. Let's finish this so that I can get this to the builder. They've already invested this in us. Let's get that done.
That's a nice way to word it. And I would imagine you probably, if somebody is saying to you, I really want to do this hand in hand, I want to know what my floor plan is going to be while we're doing these things, they could have a separate contract with you outside of the gifted hours, I guess. You could say, look, I get it. You want these things figured out. You want floor plans. Mm-hmm. Here's what it would be for me to do. You can buy 15 hours too, right?
Absolutely. So Mydoma allows you to, and so the contract says here's the gifted time and here's my regular rate. But if they ever wanted to have additional services, you can absolutely go ahead and charge them and hey, go ahead and pay for that, and we'll go ahead and start the package of doing your bedroom. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is you detailed out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you can work it that way too.
Right. I love it. It's awesome. I mean, and what the thing is, I have to say, I love that you get your money up front, period. It's great. Yeah. You're not invoicing all along the way and, sending invoices for hours and blah, blah, blah. And in this model that you use, Rebecca, you are not, even though you might be going and making the selections for the tile in XYZ, you are not purchasing it. This is all being purchased either by the contractor or the consumer.
Correct. So I could take on some of that. And actually for the furnishings I do, but since I do mainly renovations and remodels and new construction, I don't have a lot of furniture that I'm placing order for. I mean, right now I probably have some orders with some things going on as far as the furniture and mirrors and things like that. But mainly all the hardscapes, like you said, the tile, cabinetry, countertops, those kind of things. I really am allowing the builder to do all that because I also have a family and I want to be a part of that.
Right. So, but that's the point. In other words, this is a very clean model. You're basically working for design hours, and that's your choice because, as you said, you don't want to really invoice and get involved in all of that because that's your trade-off for going home and being with the kids.
That's right. That's right. So.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, and of course, like you said, if a project is going to go into furniture, but I was more talking about you're not buying the slabs and you're not caring if the cabinetry goes through your design firm. That's
not at this point.
No.
Now, I have thought of that. I thought, if I'm the one, because I have several clients that come through me first, and then we figure out the contractor that's right for them. But when I'm the one that brings the client in, I can absolutely say to that contractor, I want to purchase all these things, and they would be fine because we have a great relationship and they know that I'm the one bringing them the business. But it is a headache, LuAnn. A lot of those things, I mean, we don't really, if you realize how much time that they have to sit and meet every single vendor that's coming out to template or this or that, I don't really want to assume that responsibility. So I just opt out of that for now. But it could change.
That's the key point. That's the key point for now. I want everybody listening to hear that. You make your choices in the different seasons of your business, what makes sense for you. So there's a designer listening that doesn't have 2 kids and a husband or a wife and is willing to work a full 40, 50, 60, whatever it is, and says, hey, I can make another percentage by being the person to purchase these things. Well, go ahead, right? Go ahead. Yeah. I love it. Okay. So talk to us a little bit about the come to Jesus moment where you decided you're going to get organized. So you had been using Mydoma Studio, but you made other changes in your business and you made some significant changes. So I'm sure people want to understand some of those as well.
Okay. So like I said, I was working for a kitchen and bath firm. It's really a construction company. Still help them out, still love them dearly. But just sitting in their office, I knew in my heart that I needed to be back on my own and So I also felt like I was doing a lot of things. I was in a lot of different organizations. And when I really looked at why I was part of so many different things, I mean, I was on different boards and I was in KBA. I'm still in KBA. But anyway, I felt like I was doing so many things and nothing well. And at the heart of it, it's because I find what was really making me happy. So I know that I just needed to get back on my own, strip everything away. I finished everything that I was doing. I cut kind of all these commitments out and really just focused on like, well, I love what I do and I want to work for myself again. What can make it better? So that was kind of the end of 2018. But in 2019, I rebranded my business. I met Fred Burns at KBiz that 2019 January, and he helped me with my bio. I love him. I studied for and passed the certification to be an associate kitchen and bath designer. I raised my rates and set out that letter of reintroduction that that Fred always talks about.
Right.
I started offering additional services, and even this year I've hired a bookkeeper and a design assistant. But like you were saying, I had to get those systems, processes, templates all down. But I just really kind of went into what do I need to make everything go to the next level.
And it takes that decision. We had a show recently with Crystal Pickens on, and she came to it pretty quick in her career the way you did as well, where she just was listening to the show and saying, you know what, there's a better way, and I've got to sit down and just make some, clear decisions on finally getting real with some things, right? It doesn't have, it's so funny is because when I meet people at different shows and so forth, or more often what'll happen is I'll get an email and it'll say, how do I do it? And I'm just like, you just got to do it. Like there's no magic
how do you get
weapon.
On your own?
Yes. Like, how do I get organized? How do I grow my firm? How do I do this? And it's like, there's 540 answers. There's 540 episodes of the podcast.
Exactly.
Like that's how you do it. Right.
And I feel like it's going to be scary no matter what it is. It was scary when I left that firm. That was solid money and they didn't want me to leave. They wanted actually to promote me. And I'm sitting here saying, no, I'm going to go and make, I hope something, And my husband, he saw that I was like not feeling good. And he said, why don't you just quit? Do you know that? I was like, And so I did. The next day I told him and he was like, you did what? I mean, I just had to jump. And so I think that the only way is to jump into your fear and just go for it. And even hiring. Okay. I think I have messaged you and everybody on your podcast that has talked about hiring before because that is so scary, but it is. I just jumped and I'm so excited for what's going to be in the future. I mean, if you don't just jump and try, you're never going to experience it. But I also feel like when we talk about our background, I want to say that your podcast has really helped me understand that my windy, curvy, crazy road has made me who I am as a designer. I mean, I left design school and I worked in furniture for a while managing, but then like when I had a baby, I was like, I just went home and stayed home and didn't really put much into it. And even though later I started working for a firm, I feel like you can look back on your past and go, oh, I'm not successful, or, oh, I don't have this that the person who's the same age as me has. But this was my journey and family was important to me. And through your podcast, I've learned that you can make it happen later in life. You can take the experiences you've already had and build on it. It doesn't have to be, oh, I left design school and now I've got this amazing job and I've,
right.
So I feel like just the journey has made me who I am. And hey, your podcast has been awesome. I have, again, like I said, I've got all these one-liners that,
No, I think, and the thing is, it's funny because I recently was asked to do an interview, and they sent me all the questions, and it's going to be basically a written interview, and it's going to, I think it's coming out for ASID New York Metro, and one of the questions was, what would you go back and change in your career when you think of your career? What is something you would go back and change? And I was like, there's not a thing. There's not a thing, like, because it's to what you just said, Rebecca. Everything we've done has brought us to where we are. And I said, don't mistake my answer with there's not a thing I would change to mean there wasn't a mistake that I made. You know what I mean? I made mistakes. But the thing is, the mistakes are also part of the success. If you don't make if you make a mistake and you don't pay attention, well, then you're not going to learn the lesson from it. But if you make a mistake and you really look at it and you say, what could I have done differently? How could I have done this so that I didn't end up with this outcome? And you really own it, then the mistake is so critical to the journey, because the next time when you're in that same position, your brain goes, oh, no, sweetie.
That's right.
No.
You're not letting that happen.
That's right. Open your mouth, right?
You get to the point. Yeah, you get to the point with certain things that if you hadn't gone through that or you hadn't fallen on your face, you probably wouldn't be tough like that,
right,
you know?
Right.
And one thing I forgot to tell you. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yep.
Oh, one thing I forgot to tell you that I really worked on last year is I decided with another design friend of mine, Dixie Willard, we decided to have a business retreat. We went on a couple of retreats because we found out that we were close by. So we went on a couple of retreats, but we decided, hey, you and I, we're going to do a business retreat. We're going to get so vulnerable and work on our businesses together. And we did. We spent 3 days together and peeled apart our businesses and really looked at it with a fine comb. And both of us will tell you that we really saw such great results from that we decided, well, we've got to do this again for other designers.
Right.
So we were going to do this year, but we're going to wait till next year. We were going to do an interior design retreat where we can work on the back end part of your business, and we can have creative workshops and just working on bringing harmony to your business. So that's coming.
That's amazing. They're so powerful. It's similar to the Power Talk Friday tour that I do, the 1 day retreat that we do. It is just so powerful. It's game changing when you're that many hours with your colleagues and you
get away from all the distractions.
Right. And you can really ask real questions and make comparison notes. And, I don't know if you remember, because it was way back in the beginning of the podcast, but, we had Christy Lou on the podcast who told us how she met Darcy Heather, Lisa Escobar, and Jess Cooney at a conference one time. And these four women decided to get together and have a business retreat. And they all stayed at Jess's house up in the Berkshires in New York. And they just got together and they talked about what's in each other's contracts. And they did role playing on design presentation. And yes. And the thing was, it was so funny because Christy told us on the show how it snowed and they all got snowed in and had to stay another day.
I love it. So that was fate.
Exactly.
But we did some of the same things. So we met with lawyers. We had a contractor come in and talk to us. I mean, we really wanted it to be an experience that we both benefited from and learned a lot from. I love that, though. That's really neat.
Yeah, I know.
So I have a gift for your listeners.
Oh, you do?
On my website, I have a downloadable guide for working with contractors. Just kind of like just to help them out with what has worked for me. And it's like 3 or 4 pages, but it just really goes into the meat and potatoes of what I say and how I present it to them. And it's just on my website under To the Trade.
Oh, that's exciting. I didn't know that, Rebecca. That's exciting. Good for you. Tell us the website address.
Okay, so it's monarchlaneinteriors.com.
Love it. I love it. Well, that's what I get for feeling like I know you and not doing my full research. I didn't realize that was there. And I still usually research people I know, but I miss that.
That's okay. I just wanted to give something to everybody that's listening.
That's awesome, Rebecca. That's awesome. Well, I have to tell you, I think that the combination of Brad sharing his ideas from the standpoint of the contractor, yours from the other side of it, two really powerful twinsies episodes here to help anybody that's looking to try and get into this sort of end of the business and really be effective at it. It's outstanding. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yay. My pleasure.
To say that Rebecca is utilizing Mydoma Studio to enhance her firm, increase her profits, and maximize her efficiency is a tiny bit redundant, isn't it? I mean, she literally was the entire time referring to how helpful Mydoma Studio is to her and her interior design firm. Imagine the streamlined sales process, the communication process that Rebecca enjoys, both attributed to her expertise in what builders need and also to the capabilities of Mydoma Studio. I love it. I love it a lot. All right. Now, don't forget to grab her download on her To the Trade tab at Monarch Lane Interiors.com. Okay. And also on her To the Trade tab, you can check out her and Dixie's virtual retreat that they're doing at the end of the summer 2020. You can also find this at designerNotesRetreat.com. You know, anytime that you can spend time with your peers and really in a very open, collaborative way, talk about what you do, you know, you just take like leaps and bounds in your business expertise and experience. All right. Right now, I happen to be organizing a mastermind for firms that are 2 million plus. So to this point, if you are a 2 million plus firm and you are interested in joining this mastermind, please email me at info@LuAnnNigara.com. But also, if you just want this one-day event, there's a retreat that these ladies are doing. I love Dixie. I love Rebecca. A ton of value right there. So DesignerNotesRetreat.com. Either way, you can't lose. All win. All good, right? Anytime you can get with like minds in the same space, the same room, and like just blow your brains apart, right? I mean, that's what happens, right? All right. Now, please keep in mind, every time I mention a past guest or an episode in my organic conversation of the show, that these episode numbers will always be found in the show notes. So today, so many guests came up. Darcy, Christy, Lisa, Fred, Crystal, John Dupre, lots of them came up. So check them out. The info on these episodes will always add to the conversation that we had today. That's what happens. Something that we have in a conversation sparks my memory to something in a conversation with them. So if you enjoyed today's episode, you will likely enjoy these others as well. All right. And all this talk about MyDomaStudio.com today, have you registered yet for 19H The Blueprint? I hope you have. If you haven't, though, go to MyDomaStudio.com/19H Blueprint. MyDomaStudio.com/19H Blueprint. On July 15th, 2020, we are bringing you a full day, 3 sessions plus an opening keynote session by me. This day is going to include really in the weeds work, templates, workbook, like true tactics on the 3 phases of the design process. Opening discovery and consult phase, the process and procedures in the middle phase, and finally closing out the project efficiently. And like I always say, you have to do an autopsy of every single project so you can learn what you did right, because you need to repeat that. And then to learn what you did wrong so that you can correct it, right? This is how you create an awesome process and ultimately an awesome business. So I hope you will join us, mydomastudio.com/19H Blueprint for more information and to register and sign up. We also mentioned Brad Levitt a few times today as well. If design build is your niche, or if you want to speak builder speak and learn how to be valuable to a builder, definitely check out his previous episode, number 542, and stay tuned for Power Talk Friday this week. Brad will be back. I knew the very first time I spoke to him that he could teach us things to make us more attractive to builders. So despite Brad having his own luxury build firm, AFT Construction in Arizona, he has his own podcast, AFT Construction Podcast. But despite how busy he is, somehow I managed to convince this terrific guy to come here every 6 weeks and help us understand all the ways that we can up our game with builders. Pretty awesome. I know. Yep. Am I right? Yes, I know. All right. Lastly, big, huge thanks to ComSeas and Mike Von Tassel for their recent reviews on iTunes. Yep. I read them all. No joke. Thank you so much for sending the love, and right back at you. That's it for today. I hope you will join me on Instagram and Facebook. I hope you will share your thoughts, opinions, and feelings with me there. I want to know. I want to know what you think. And I also want to know that every day you decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at LuAnnNigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.